Healing crystals, skincare routines, knitting a sweater, fitting in jeans. With Katie and Sarah, no need to worry, you're on a lady journey.
Welcome to Lady Journey, everybody. Welcome.
It's Lady Month.
It's Ladies Month, and we're so happy to be women, and we're so happy to have our own month.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for this month. I wrote a tweet, which you know who? Let me just say, I can't stand Jordan Peterson because he's so stupid.
Smarmy.
Smarmy.
Yeah.
I like you said shawarmy, like he kind of smells like shawarma.
I feel like everything he says has no scientific backing. It's just a personal belief that he has, and people believe it.
He makes up stuff, and I get why. He says it in a very convincing way, and then you're like, you're not a scientist.
Yes.
Like, he said this thing that he has this whole concept, and I've listened to it. He has a concept that women make less money than men because women will not do the dangerous jobs that men are doing. It's like, oh, okay, so like women aren't coal miners. It's like, oh, are we also not male showrunners? Is that why we can't break into the industry? Because it's dangerous to run a TV show? It's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And you're looking at something from, he's got another thing which somebody blasted on TikTok I love. It's like, watch your kids. Every day is a special day with your kids. Crying. And if you miss it, it's going to go by like that. It's like, really? Because your wife was home taking care of your kid? Is that why you were able to ignore her for so long?
Yeah, and then you're just doing every possible podcast that is out there. I don't know.
It's like, I'm not going to worry about missing my kids because I'll be the one taking care of them, sir.
I don't think he's actually like a bad guy, but I do believe that a lot of the stuff that he spews is like, there's people, mainly guys, he speaks to them, and they're not critically thinking outside of it, being like, wait, just listen, does this really make sense? Is this
really
logical?
Make sense? Yeah. It's and he also just reeks of the type of guy who like got famous randomly and just has a huge ego from it and just loves to hear himself talk.
Yeah, there's several of them. Like, I put that Gary V guy in that category.
I don't think I know who that is.
He's like, I think he's an Indian guy, or he's American but Indian background, and I think he's kind of like what we would say is like the MLM for guys.
Okay.
Meaning like, if you follow my seminar, I will teach you the ways to make $100,000 a year in your side hustle. But then you're like, yeah, you're only making $100,000 because you're like kind of like pretending that you have something that's a thing, but it's not really. So you think all these other guys that are going to pay into or can start their own Gary V business.
Yeah.
Also doing seminars. Like, it just doesn't work that way.
How to make 100,000 in your side hustle of trying to teach people how to make 100,000 in their side hustle. It's like, that's what the side hustle is. It is a hustle.
It is. Most times on those sites, like I've seen them on Pinterest of like, here's a great way to make 1,000 extra a month in your side hustle. But a lot of you're like, that's just luck. You have to be in the right place to have a demand for some of these ideas. Like, they were like, you can self-publish children's books and make $1,000 a month. You're like, if you're good, what am I going to dedicate time to write a children's book and then I'm just not making any money?
Right.
Like, it's not, most likely I will not make any money, but like, stop perpetuating that as the way to make money.
Meanwhile, they're making money off of that because they have ads.
Yeah.
You're like, go to Amazon and get this book.
It's to teach you how to write a children's.
Yeah. It's
a grift.
It's a grift, and it's annoying, and it's very Women's Month.
Yes.
It's very Women's Month.
Well, speaking of Women's Month, did you see the Kim Kardashian Vanity Fair article or interview that everybody was just like ripping apart?
Yes.
I mean, be like, you need to get off your ass and work.
It's so funny. It's so funny. It's like,
I do think they work hard, but what they're ignoring is like, for you, like, that works for you. Not everybody got those assets that you got.
Yeah, it's so tone deaf. It's so tone deaf when celebrities assume that they're the only people that are working, and it's like your work is somehow having a private island birthday party. It's like, wait a second. I'm actually working, and I didn't get to have a private island birthday party. Is it because I'm not working hard enough?
I know. And then also what we're finding out is that working a job that gets paid hourly or even salary is not the way to be rich. And that's how most people have to make their money. They don't have thousands of dollars to invest and make passive income, where it's just like an ignorant statement. And also you're just like, she's had a lot of advantages, and it's like, it's so funny with Vanity Fair because there's also been a similar out of touch celebrity quote from Grimes, who I hate. I can't stop hating her. And Grimes, as you know, she was the girlfriend of Elon Musk, and now she's dating the but she had a second child. They broke up in the same
surrogate.
week. In a surrogate.
They had both of their children by surrogate, which I think is fine if you need to do that for medical reasons. But it's like, what? I think it's some kind of weird futuristic baby thing. But anyway,
you're a baby farm for rich people.
You're a baby farm for rich people.
Tale.
Yeah, it does have that feeling. And not downing anyone that chooses to be a surrogate, but in the context of her quote, which was that Elon Musk, who, by the way, made $21 billion in 2021, she was saying, oh, well, we actually live below the poverty line. And we live in a house that's $40,000. It's like, so I'm sorry, you live in a house that you own? You live in a house that you own that's $40,000. Okay, well, that's you own a house. You own a house. Let's flip it. And she said, like, he won't buy a new mattress. And she also kept being like, bro won't buy it. It's like, stop calling him your bro. That's your boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then I'm eating peanut butter out of a jar for 8 days in a row because we're so poor. It's like, but you're also a millionaire.
She
is. I'm not a million. I'm not even a thousandaire. And I'm not going to let myself eat peanut butter out of a jar for 8 days because I love myself. Just go to the grocery store, Grimes. Get an Uber and go. Go buy the grocery store.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I'm sorry. You're telling me you're living below the poverty line when you're paying another woman to be the house of your baby? Like, that's not something poor people do.
Yeah, it seems like it's her version when I'm like, I'm broke, but I'm just like texting on $1,000 iPhone.
Right. Yeah. It's just like, okay, it's gnarly. It's gnarly.
And there are times where I'm like, do these celebrities not have friends to be like, hey, let's just think about that before you put that online.
Yeah, it's like, should I tell people that our cook only buys off-brand almond milk because of the gas prices?
No.
It's like,
just like be quiet. I say be quiet on most things in life.
Just be quiet. And if you're like somebody that has over $100,000 in the bank, like, you're rich. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I know you don't feel rich because there are richer people than you, but
you're doing fine, Grimes.
I'm actually living below the poverty line, but I don't even feel like I'm poor. But I'm not a mom, It's like there are people that are actually in poverty.
Yeah, like just living huts with no running water.
And now I'm like claiming I'm poor. I'm like, actually, it's really hard because we only have a 1-bedroom apartment in Manhattan.
And the water only goes to 100 degrees.
Well, my water is broken. My water is something's wrong, and my Super's been gaslighting me, but I like it because I'm a woman. Well, my lady journey that I wanted to talk about for Women's Month is I'm kind of working on a bit about this, but it's my experience with birth control.
Okay.
And I know you have an IUD.
I did, and I took it out.
Oh, you did take it out?
I did.
Oh, good for you. Yeah. Did it hurt taking it out?
It didn't hurt taking it out. It hurt putting it in, and it was only like a brief moment of time in a very acute spot of pain. So it's not a broad area of pain, but a laser beam of like just burn to your cervix that you're like, ow, and then it's done.
Really?
Yeah.
See, it's such I would consider getting the IUD, but it's such a range of responses. Like, some people say what you said, and then some people are like, oh, it was the worst pain I've ever felt in my entire life. It felt like cats scratching my uterus. Yeah. And you're like, okay, well, I won't be doing that. Thank you. And some people are like, didn't feel it. And some people are like, yeah, the numbing shot was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah, it is weird. I've heard every woman I think has had a different experience with IUD. I was a huge advocate for it. I thought it was perfect for I can't remember to take birth control once
Yeah.
a day or whatever. And this one is just like, I say, set it and forget it. You just
Yeah.
throw it in there and you forget about
The
it.
crock pot of
Yeah.
birth control.
But I know several people have had discomfort putting it in and also discomfort of just having it,
Yeah.
especially like hormonal. I don't even know how it works.
Well, I think the
There's two
Mirena
kinds, right?
one, the
That's the
Mirena
one
one
I
is the
had.
tiny one, and that has a small amount of progesterone in it, and the progesterone is what thickens the mucus of your cervix. So if when you do have sex, the little sperms cannot get to the egg. So
It's,
you
like,
still
crazy
ovulate.
that we can do all
Yeah,
this.
it's nuts. And then the other one is the copper one, which is big, and that one's supposedly way more painful and more of a like procedure to insert it. And that one just keeps your body from ovulating because your body's like,
Yeah.
you know, something, somebody's in there. You know,
very quiet.
yeah. It just like it tricks your uterus into thinking you have a home invader.
Yes.
And so you don't ovulate, and it has something to do with the copper, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have any issues. I felt like the first month maybe I dealt with hormonal issues. Like I was like, am I angry or do I just hate my job? There's a lot of things that I can't, when you're like, I don't know if this is a legit emotion or like a side effect of something, or if I'm just like depressed.
That's what it is. And I was on the I started birth control about 2 years ago, and I've been on it and off it like intermittently in my 20s. I would go on for like a year and then go off again.
Yeah.
And I remember I had the Nuvo ring, which is the plastic ring that you put inside, and that made me literally go into a psychosis. I mean, I was like lashing out at family members. I broke up with my boyfriend. I was like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
You know? So I like that one. I was like, yeah, I don't think I can do that again. So I tried I was on Junelle, which is a budget, it's the type of pill that has the estrogen and the progesterone, so the combo. And the estrogen is what really fucks you up, I think. Because, like, I could tell the estrogen was working because, like, you know how you have, like, a few little, like, chin hairs?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all of a sudden, like, they were just gone. I was like, wow.
God, I should
Weird.
take that.
Yeah, I need a little hormone therapy. And I didn't have any emotional ups and downs, like maybe a few mood swings here or there, but that was the thing I was so terrified of getting, because it's just like you're living your life, you're stressed out, and then it's like so much worse when you're like, and now I'm crying, I guess now I'm openly sobbing, so I was like, ugh, any side effect, like I don't care about weight gain, I don't care about that, like I don't care about anything, but I did completely lose my sex drive, and it was a
That's
thing.
really weird. You're like, oh, that's one way of also not getting pregnant.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I had no sex drive, but I also, because this was like right when the pandemic was hitting, that I had been on it for about 3 months, and that was when I kind of lost my sex drive, and I was like, well, I guess I'm just stressed, I guess like, and then I just was like, I was in a relationship. I was like, I guess I just don't really want to have sex that much anymore. And I'm also, I just kind of like, it's like so funny because it's like chemical castration for men is like what they would punish gay people with in like Britain in the 40s. And for women, it's just like, and that's just what happens when you take a birth control.
You just accept it.
I just get like a punishment.
Well.
Yeah. Like this is basically like a cruel and unusual punishment. It's like what it's classified as. But because I'm a woman, it's like, well, get over it. Just get over it.
Yeah.
But that wasn't even enough to get me off of that one. I started getting canker sores in my mouth.
God, why is this like so fascinating? Because I feel like I've never heard about this.
Yeah. Well, I always have gotten canker sores every now and then, and it's like a genetic thing. But I was getting like huge sores inside my mouth that would be like unbearable for like weeks, where I was like, I couldn't eat. I was just like eating like oatmeal. Yeah. It was awful. And then I found out it's caused by the birth control. It's caused because it like leaches vitamins from your body. So I was like, okay, then now I'm on the vitamin. My birth control is free, but like the amount of supplements that I'm like taking, I'm paying like $80 a month basically just to like keep myself afloat.
It just like sounds like this thing, birth control is just like slowly eating away at you.
Yeah, it's just like slowly kills you. I thought I had a blood clot forever, and I do know a girl. I kept thinking I had a blood clot, and at shows I would be like, I think I have a blood clot. Has anyone here had one? And it would be like 3 women like raising their hand, like, yes. Go check it, get it checked out. I'm like, oh my God, I thought they were gonna be like, you're crazy, bitch.
Yeah.
But instead they're like, go.
No, it's a serious thing, and we all have blood clots.
Yeah, we've all had blood clots.
It's amazing to me where you're like, why no one talks about some of this stuff? It's not
Yeah.
open.
The side effects, the known side effects of birth control are like moodiness, gaining weight, and then
Yeah.
like your skin clears up or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like a lot of all these other side effects I've had to like dig and dig. Like one side effect I had to dig and dig to find out is that when you're on birth control, your body processes caffeine at half the rate that it normally does. So like if you're usually a person that has 2 cups of coffee and you start taking birth control, now you're a person that a second cup of coffee is going to drive you over the edge mentally and emotionally, and you're going to be like screaming in Target. So I would be like drinking coffee and I'd just be like, wait, something's wrong. You know, just have like a deep feeling of unease. So the mouth sores, that didn't even, I was like, oh, I just took vitamins. I'm good on the mouth sores.
Yeah.
And then I was getting like brutal headaches. I stopped drinking wine. Every time I was drinking wine, I was like, I guess I just get a brutal headache every time I have 1 glass of wine. Well, that's normal. I'm 35.
Yeah.
So I'm just like normalizing everything. And finally, I went to, I had like my annual, and I was going over all the side effects with the lady, and she was like, let's switch the pill. Like, you shouldn't be getting headaches every time you have wine. I'm like, but I'm 35.
Yeah.
Isn't it
I
normal?
thought that.
And she's like, no, it's not normal.
You need to be drinking your wine.
I need to have my wine. So now I'm on a different one called norepinephrine, which again I can afford the generic ones, so that's what I'm getting. That's what the government.
Nora Ephron.
Yeah, I'm in the norepinephrine birth control. It's a singing one. But so now I'm on just progesterone, which is the one that you like just easily get pregnant off of. It's like you have to take it. Yeah, if you don't take it at the exact same time every single day, then the mucus wall thins. The estrogen one stops you from ovulating. The progesterone one just thickens your cervical mucus so the sperm can't get to the egg.
Okay.
So, and I actually forgot to take it today, so that's going to be fun.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike, stay away from me. So now I'm on this one, but it was such an insane shift from going from the combination birth control to the micro pill or the mini pill, which is what I'm on now, because all of a sudden my sex drive, like, just started coming back, and it would just like come back without warning, where like one day I'm like at Trader Joe's and the guy's like, oh, it's a great backpack. I'm like, excuse me, you know, it's just like,
why am I turned on all of a sudden?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I felt like I was having a second puberty where I went from being totally dead inside to then like having this sexual awakening where I was like, oh my God, like my boyfriend, I think I love him again. So it's been like better, but now I'm going through like, I think, first of all, I think my blepharitis is caused by birth control because it's,
it sounds like, because I feel like it seems in the same range as the canker cells to me.
Yes, because it's from a vitamin deficiency.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's caused by it, but I also think I'm having like issues with candida now, which is so annoying. Like, I'm trying not to eat sugar, I'm trying not to eat wheat, but it's like anytime I slip up, I notice a difference immediately. And like candida is like, and I'm also taking probiotics. I'm not eating sugar. I'm eating it like a little bit.
It's like how, but it's
so
the problem
annoying.
with life. It's like you need 2 lives. One for your trial and error, and then the next one so you can have the life that you were meant to have.
Yes. Like, I want to have like a glass of wine without the next day being like, and something's wrong. Something's very, very wrong.
Yes.
So, but this birth control is just so much better. So I've like come out on the other side of it. But it was great. It was great to have a sexual awakening. I felt like a teenage boy, just like coming alive in the park. I'm like, hello, hello. Meanwhile, like the past year, I've just been like wearing full turtlenecks, like out of my way. I'm
Don't
working.
touch me.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I went from being frigid to
yeah. You'd like to have a nice balance of that. 'Cause sometimes I'm like, do I have low T? Because sometimes I think I have a small sex drive now. Where my early 30s, you would be like, what is hi?
Hello. Yeah.
Where you're like, I'm glad I'm single in my early 30s. But like now,
It comes in like ebbs and flows for me too, where it's like sometimes I just feel like, oh my gosh, you know, especially like dating or like in a new relationship. And then sometimes I just like shut it off and I'm like, ugh, I gotta like Mike and I watched this movie on Netflix called Newness, and it was about this couple, like a millennial couple that they were trying. They fall in love, then they accidentally cheat on each other, then they decide to start doing an open relationship, and they're each going on dates with other people, and they're kind of like telling each other about it. I'm like, who has the time for this? I'm exhausted watching this. Like, you're not even spending time with your boyfriend. You're on a date. He's on a date. It's like, when does the dating stop?
Yeah, I that's the other thing is like when I talk to people that are doing like all the apps, the amount of like back and forth and then coordinating a time, I'm like, I don't know where you have the time.
It's too much work.
Yeah.
But I love like Low T as the name of like your next album.
Like T, because that's also my
Initial.
first initial of my last name. Yeah.
Sarah Low T.
Low T.
Anyway, but that's my birth control journey. What's your journey that you're on?
This is, I guess it's not a journey per se. It could be because I read an article in The Cut and I thought it was very fascinating because it kind of goes along the lines of when we talked about the gene shift.
Oh, yes.
So I guess
the gene shift, which is actually one of our Patreon bonus episodes.
That I will release. I just forgot.
I will release
it behind the paywall.
We are going to release it soon for fun.
So the vibe shift is every few years you'll notice, like the example is coming out of the pandemic when we started going to do shows, like going back into the city again, all of a sudden I was like, is everybody dressing differently these days?
Yes. Oh my God. I've noticed it, but I couldn't put my finger on what it was.
And also everyone's really, really young.
Yes.
And I feel outdated.
Yes.
And so it's a vibe shift, apparently.
That's what the vibe
happening.
Shift. This is so crazy because I was just telling Mike this because, you know, I've been basically my experience going out is like I work at night, but I don't ever go out. But I walk home and I just see everything. And I said to Mike, I said, it doesn't feel like we had a pandemic and it's 2 years later. It feels like it's March 2020 and it's the next day after we shut down and now we're in a completely different dimension. It feels like it's the same, but it's totally different.
It's totally different. I feel like, and what they're meaning by that, and I wrote it down because I can't remember. It's in The Cut.
I'll link the article.
Yes.
I'll link the article in the blog notes.
And so these were some of this guy's predictions, and he runs like a newsletter.
Of course he does.
That's like $50, but I think he was originally being like, if you want to know, it's like $600. I'm like, that's fine. I'll just know someone else that will share this information for free on TikTok.
$600.
I know, that's a vibe shift.
Yeah, seriously.
But he was saying, you know, it's like fashion. Like I've noticed Y2K fashion is back. Like baggy jeans with like a tight baby doll kind of t-shirt.
Bucket hats.
Interesting like glitter makeup again.
It's very Spice Girls.
Very Spice Girls. I'm hoping we will not do some of the mistakes that we did from there. Like, I don't want to do low-rise jeans again.
They're coming. They are on the way. And I just saw something about it again
I did
last
too,
night.
because Mui, which is or Prada, a fashion house, an Italian fashion house, had cut-off shirts and baby mini skirts that were on the hip that I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah, no, this is like,
myself.
you have to be like going.
Who's this for?
Like, I can't take myself seriously when I'm like freezing. Like, hey guys, anyone here notice that I'm wildly uncomfortable?
It's so weird because they're like, it's also in the vein of like, it looks like Harry Potter slutted up. It's so weird. But so like Y2K fashion. Also, remember like American Apparel ads?
Yeah.
Those are coming up. They're calling it indie sleaze.
Oh, interesting. Because they got so much heat for that because their ads were so exclusionary.
Well, it was like barely legal porn.
Yeah,
is
it
what
was like
we were looking at.
Barely legal, and then like the most like thinnest type of girl. Maybe she's just naturally thin, but also it was almost like sickening. You know, not judging someone with a thin body type, but I'm saying it looked unhealthy.
Well, I remember one time there was a high-rise short that I thought it looked really cute, and I put them on, and I'm like this. I cannot wear these out. Yeah. I cannot wear these out. And not that I say that anything that you should be sexually assaulted for what you're wearing, but there was a part of me that's like, I'm just asking for it in this outfit. Like, I am putting myself out there, and this is not the the energy that I want. But I thought that was kind of fascinating. They said less interested in cancel culture.
I could see that. I could see people just kind of moving away from, because that's the trend I see on TikTok now, where it's like, it's less of like the social justice warrior and more of like the I'm staying home and it's cool, you know?
Yes.
It's kind of gotten actually like the narcissism has gone like kind of beyond it.
Yes, where I also feel like in that category is what people like the people online think that they're activists, but it's really call out culture. Like,
yeah, it's really supporting their own
narcissism.
journey as like, I want to be a famous writer, so I'm going to expose someone even if it isn't really an expose.
Yes, and those people are getting tired of that, because what's ending up happening is like there was an incident on TikTok recently between two activist people. One was called Wounded Warrior and this other girl, Chelsea, white woman. And the Wounded Warrior guy always called out like anything about indigenous people. But apparently he said she flew down to have like sex with him. He said he was exclusive and used non-protection, but he lied. He's not being exclusive. So she was like, this is a form you mistrust, and is calling him out. And they took both parties took this online, and we were all like, the guys, this is between y'all.
Yeah, seriously.
What are you doing? This is like highly like you're just airing your dirty laundry. Like, this is not calling out. Like, you guys just you're not meant to be for each other. And now we're hearing it in a victimhood on both parties.
Yeah, and it's like, ugh, please. No one cares.
So that's where I feel like people are losing interest in the cancel culture, is because we're getting tired of this is what's happening, is now we're going to the lowest grade of where it's not even helping anybody. Now we're just accusing people of doing shit, when it's just like, you guys are just atrocious people towards each other.
It's like the boy who cried wolf. Yeah, it's like becoming that type of thing where it's like, this guy's a misogynist woman hater. It's like, okay, what do you want me to do about it?
I don't know. Like,
what do you want me to do? Do you want me to like write something nasty on his wall, or like, should he be fired?
Yes.
Like, come on.
I'm just like, all I can do is just have like, like, I just don't think highly of that person, but I'll just keep that opinion to myself.
Yeah. Right.
The return of irony.
Oh, thank God. Oh my God, I've missed it.
Was it gone? I had no idea.
I guess
is that ironic t-shirts? Is that what we're talking about?
I think that, I mean, I could see from like Gen Z, they think that they are clever. So I think that maybe they're kind of getting into irony more, but it's like, I think it's kind of evaporated because people don't read irony on the internet. Like they don't think that a lot of things are jokes. So maybe we're all becoming more literate with the internet in the way that we can perceive it better.
I agree. That is a great assessment, because there are really, I did a joke recently online and it did well, but I had somebody be like, it was about Kim Kardashian. And I just said like, hey, we're all trying to work really hard. I'm trying, but I just can't find anybody to hold the camera while I suck a dick right now.
That was great. That was a great take. Great hot take.
I was positive.
Yeah.
It was a little roasty. It was just roast. Yeah. I have to say that I do admire the Kardashians, but I just thought that we talked about it earlier. It was like, they're out of touch.
Yes.
That's what the joke was. But I had somebody being like, that happened 20 years ago, and she also works really hard. I'm like, well, clearly you didn't understand the assignment, I guess. Like, what?
You didn't get
it. I get it. No, she does work hard. I get that. But I'm just saying, what that joke was mainly just stating that she's out of touch.
She's out of touch, and doing a sex tape isn't that hard of work. unless you are a professional sex worker.
Also,
great work.
And somebody brought up a great point, the privilege to even suck a famous dick.
It's a privilege.
It's a privilege.
I like that take better than my take on that joke, which was she's telling us to get plastic surgery. I said, ladies need to get work, like, on their face.
Oh, I know. Yes.
Thank you.
That she spends so much money. Like, the way they look is amazing. And that they're also selling products that make you feel like, if I buy these products, I'll look like that. But you also need to spend, like, millions of dollars.
Yes. You need to get your butt injected.
Yeah, which is, like, insane. Which I do hope a vibe shift will be a little further away from Botox and filler as much.
I know.
Plastic
I
surgery.
think it's so interesting, and we've talked about this before, but
it's hard to sustain.
It's impossible to
elitism.
sustain, and it is elitist. And also, you're now considered like a prude if you're like, well, Botox and plastic surgery. Like, if you're judgmental towards people for doing that choice, you're considered a prude because it's like people should be able to fulfill their dreams in whichever way they want, which it is true. But it's like
true, and it does look good.
I'm not gonna be like getting Botox because if I don't, everybody's gonna look 20 and I'm gonna look 30.
Yeah. And it is a fear that has been instilled in me lately because all of our contemporaries, a lot of them are doing it and they do look great. But I'm like, I can't sustain it. It's too
so expensive. It's so expensive. You have to have a lot of money or you have to be totally financially irresponsible to be getting that much.
Yes.
To be able to afford that. Either you're not like preparing for the future and to do that, or you're just totally wealthy. So it's just like it's an unattainable bar. So it's like I would just like to be like, why don't we all just stay comfortable with the way that we look?
Yes, please. So I'm hoping that will change. But this is interesting. People are smoking again.
I fucking noticed something about this again on my walks home. I'm like, I'm noticing there's another part of the 2000s look is like the giant coats.
Yeah.
Giant coats are coming back, which I don't love, but I'm like, okay.
Well, they only look good on a certain at a certain age, you look like a homeless person.
Right, exactly. It's the giant coat with like the bell bottoms and the midriff, and then like a cigarette. And I was like, huh?
Yeah.
People are so 90s now. I just feel like we're all like living in an episode of The Craft or something. It's just.
The funny thing is, like, a lot of them think they're like inventing it. And
yes,
you're like,
yes.
But as you get older, you realize everything's cyclical. So you do know, like, I'm pretty sure platform sneakers, remember that was like a huge look.
Yeah.
They will come back in style about 10 years from now. And I do predict that.
Yeah.
But I actually think smoking looks cooler than vaping. I hope no kids are listening to this. Don't smoke, but if
this is not a show for children.
This isn't. I always mention that. Well, at least on the YouTube, I never fill it. This is for kids.
Yeah. No, those kids would be cool.
Yes.
Is your child an old soul?
But like the vapes always look like you're kind of like sucking your thumb. They're always like this.
Yeah, and it has that kind of. It has that
too much
kind
billowy smoke.
Yeah, I don't have. I because I grew up in the 90s. I've always thought that smoking is cool.
It looks cool. At least in movies, I'm always like, God, I want a cigarette whenever I see it.
I would get those candy cigarettes and I would just pretend. I'd be like 10 pretending to smoke in my room, that's not healthy. But
just be like this the whole time and say something witty and flick your cigarette.
Yeah.
It looks cool.
It does look very cool. It's kind of making me want to smoke right now. I'm the type of person, I'm like, I can never smoke.
No,
I can't even, it actually looks bad. I have to tell myself that. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if I get to do it, I love it.
Ugh. And if you get to do it, it's like, that's the thing about smoking.
But I never want to be addicted to it again.
Every now and then, if you're like, spring day, I'm just having a cigarette. It's my one I have every 2 months.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, so cool. But then if you're like somebody who looks like, I got to get a cigarette, then it's like, okay. Now
you're
it's
like putting
gone.
the groceries in with it hanging out of your mouth while you have like a kid. You're like, all right, now this is just sad. And
it's cool in the French way, in the way that French people have like, they're like, I always have the dessert. And it's like you have like the tiniest slice of pie. It's like, I always have a dessert every meal.
Yeah, just
it's
one
like,
a day.
It's a sprinkle.
Yeah.
It's one sprinkle. You're like, that's okay, Claude.
I guess that's the French way. We just have self-control and that's what we do. But they do say, guys, if you're not going to survive the vibe shift, it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay
I
to
like
not go part of the vibe shift. But it is happening, and I think it happens kind of like every 10 years.
Yeah, I feel like coming out of the pandemic, it has been such a groundbreaking time for especially these young people who were inside for like their first years.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing them out and they're just running wild. Like
in their early 20s, they had their
very
last
early
year of high
20s.
school out or locked in. So it was Very unfortunate. So now it feels like they're like, we're out.
We're breaking out.
Yeah.
And I've noticed, like, especially towards the end of the winter, where it was like we had like a couple warm days, but then it would be like violently cold again. I would see, and I think it's these kids, no coats.
Yeah.
Not a coat, nary a coat, which infuriates me because I'm just like, wait, take your coat to the club. They're gonna check it for you.
Yeah.
Or you can just keep it over on the side. Like you can have a coat.
Yes.
You don't need to have like a spaghetti strap with a mini dress.
Yes.
And then nothing, and then it's just nuts. But you know what else I have noticed, which I wanted to bring up?
Mm-hmm.
Leather pants are back. I have seen, when I was on my walk home a couple nights ago, I swear to God, 7 pairs of leather pants.
They are big, and I cannot stress, I don't like buying new leather products. I'm not into
Yeah.
I'm okay with vintage. It's already, what are you going to do about it? It's already out there. But like, if you buy faux leather, I saw a girl on social media show the downfalls of faux leather, and I've had this with a faux leather jacket.
Ooh.
It starts flaking
It flakes.
off.
Yep.
And
had
then
it.
it flakes off immediately.
Yeah.
So, ladies, be wary of leather, faux leather.
Go
anything.
on Posh. Go on Posh and just get used leather.
Yes.
Which I don't know if you really want to ever buy used leggings of any fabric. Because they do hold smells. But
yes, they do.
I know. I do love the idea of the Gen Z people, just kind of not caring about climate change at all and being like, well, we're just going to wear leather and we just forget it. And meanwhile, the millennials are like, but the sun's going to be burning people to death.
They're like, we're all doomed.
Yeah.
While smoking.
Yeah. They're
Grow up.
smoking. Yeah.
Grow up, millennials. But that's the other downside. I remember I bought these vegan leather Doc Marten boots, and then I was so proud of it, and then somebody was like, do you know that there's more damage done
Yes.
with
The
vegan
chemicals.
leather, that you're like, all right, well, I tried, and
Yeah.
so I'm going back to, and I think that's the vibe shift of like,
Well, yeah, I'm just going to get regular leather.
I'm just going back.
Because buying anything is like basically it's going to
Killing.
end up in the garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean. But the thing about leather, though, cruelty-free leather, which I think is it's so funny because it's such like the marketing of like the 2010s. It's like, we used to call that pleather, and people would make fun of it.
Yes.
The cruelty-free leather, the vegan leather. It's like, no, that's pleather,
It's
okay?
leather, and it's crap.
And it's not
Plastic
good.
shit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it looks bad. And I can tell. I can tell by touch. I have a touch for fabrics, and I can, rest assured, I
Yes.
can tell.
So just know that. But this is something interesting that I feel like why you should be knowledgeable of vibe shifts and the feeling of things. And as we progress, I do feel like we are progressing as a society with our culture or of like beliefs, meaning like we're more open
Yes.
to, we're not sex shaming a lot of people.
Yes,
We're open to
yes.
trans. That's been a lot. Things are more fluid, I think.
Yes, and that's something that's so great to like keep in mind, because there's always people that love to say that like the world is like going to hell in a handbasket, and it's just easy to get caught up in that, and it's like low-rise jeans, climate change, everything. And then it's like you remember, it's like, oh yeah, like watch one movie from like 2006 and you're like, this is horrifying. The stuff they are saying, the gay jokes this is illegal. Is it not illegal? It's crazy.
Absolutely.
So it's like we've come a long way.
Yeah, and you don't want to be archaic in that, because the one good example of that just recently happened. Sam Elliott, and who I've always had like such a crush on back in the day. He was in Roadhouse and Mask. He's like always been a sexy older guy.
Yeah.
He plays cowboys a lot of the times. He was in
Okay.
Tombstone. He went on Mark Maron's podcast and was like, I just don't get Power of the Dog, which is kind of like a homosexual theme in it. And he said the movie was boring and that's not what cowboys do. And you're just like, all right, dude, you're just old. You're just like an
Okay.
archaic view mindset. Like,
Yeah, like-
you're not, he thought he was like complaining in a way that I would be like, that's right. These Westerns aren't like the way you're like, you just don't get the movie. That's
Yeah,
what's happening
It's
here.
so annoying. It's like you can still grow.
Yeah.
I hate people that get like attached to the past. Like those were the days back in the 90s. It's like the AIDS crisis. Really?
Yes, or like the older statesman comics that are like, I don't know why you kids are posting all that stuff on social media. You just need to be really good on stage. You're like, are you stupid?
Yeah,
You're stupid because things are changing.
That's what I did in 1986, and now I work cruise ships. Yeah, and I think
it's like you have to figure out that things are changing, they're shifting,
they're evolving, and I think too, not being too like tied down to like comedy, for example, in a way that like this is what stand-up comedy is. It is a white guy telling jokes to a crowd, you know, and allowing it to evolve. I think people do try to down TikTok and they down like the social media aspect of it, but it's like, you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of that incredible film. It's like a film noir. Sunset Boulevard.
Okay.
Where, have you ever seen it?
No.
It's a great one.
I've heard of it.
Glenn
Close?
No, it is not Glenn Close. It's but the plot is it's a guy, he like wants to be a writer, and then he ends up kind of getting entangled in a romantic relationship with a has-been silent movie actress.
Okay.
And she was a silent movie actress, and now they do talkies, as they're called. And she is like so stuck in the past. She's like, when in my day we didn't need sounds, we had faces. We had our faces. And you know, it's like that's what those people sound like to me, where it's like, well, back in my day it was a man on stage talking, humping the stool,
shitting on his wife.
Yeah. Now it's like, okay, well, the art form is evolving. It's like you don't want to be left behind.
Yeah. So just have an open mind.
Have an open mind.
Lady Journey.
Lady Journey. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for listening to Lady Journey. Please feel free to check us out on our Patreon. We have $5, $10, and $20 tiers. $5, you get all the bonus episodes, which we'll be releasing soon. And there's lots of other good, fun stuff. Please give us a 5-star review on iTunes and send us an email to ladyjourneypodcast@gmail.com with the screenshot of your review and your address, and I will send you some free merch.
Yeah. Subscribe too, don't forget.
Yes, we have a YouTube page. We have a blog. Subscribe, comment, and good luck on your lady journey.
Yes, good luck.